This week on Angelo's Workbench, the wheels, tires, and brakes and all of their parts are going to get taken care of for the Ferrari SF90. Stick around. So this week we're going to build up these wheels and tires. I've been kind of excited about this part of the kit since I unpacked it, really, and saw that there are so many parts. So we have the tires, we have the wheels, we have the brake rotors, we have the brake calipers. We then have photo-etched metal for the rotors and additional photo-etched metal here for the rotors, as well as there is photo-etched metal for the calipers here, complete with Ferrari logos. And also there is photo-etched metal for the centers of the wheels, right there, those 4 circles there. So the center of the wheels actually get a photo etch because the decal then goes on the photo etch, and you can do all kinds of cool stuff with that. You can actually create an emblem if you were to apply the decal to this photo etch on here instead of on the wheel, and then clear coat it with like a dot of epoxy or something, and that would turn into basically like an emblem. And that may very well be what I do. We'll see what happens. Looking at the calipers are all one color. So what I think I am going to do is I'm going to apply the photo etched metal to the caliper before paint. And then the rotors, I may also apply the photo etched metal before paint. The photo etch is actually pretty nice for those rotors. There's one for the front and for the back. You end up with a really nice, very detailed part with the little holes and everything, and it should take a wash very nicely. I thought about leaving the photo etched metal alone for the rotors. But then when I looked online at my research, these are like a very dark gray graphite rotor, not a steel, bright, shiny rotor. So this wouldn't look the part. It wouldn't be the right color. So I'm going to apply the photo etch metal before paint. So let's get started. We're going to put the photo etch metal on these rotors and calipers, and then we're going to paint all of the parts, and then we can start some assembly. These guys, I think I'm going to leave the photo etch silver and then just detail them. These are black on the cars that I can see, except for these little tiny dots that go around the circle are silver. So I'm going to try to replicate that as close as I can, and let's get to work. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to apply the photo etch metal for the front brakes. And these have a nice double-sided clear protective sheet, which is kind of nice. I've got to remove one side of it, at least, to begin the work. And these are the front ones right here. So there are 3 little tiny little metal, it's almost a sprue attachment point that I find just cutting with an X-Acto knife works. You will dull an X-Acto knife very quickly doing this, so plan accordingly. And then I like to just make sure that there's nothing in the way of that little sprue still hanging out, because it does happen. And you can sand the edge of the photo etch metal just like you would a styrene piece, just to kind of sand down that metal. And I do have a little tiny bit of a burr there. There we go. And then we obviously need the side with the holes, right? Because that's the cross-drilled rotor pattern. So that looks pretty good. So then keeping in mind that, I was going to leave these attached, but I'm having a little bit of an issue because there is some resin here where the sprue attaches. that is preventing me from putting the rotor where it needs to go. Let's try that again. There we go. Problem solved. Okay, so don't get your model glue out, because model glue is not going to do anything. Right? This is photo etched metal. We're going to need crazy glue in order for this to work. So I've got some I had some Gorilla super glue, and as is usually the case, my super glue has gone hard in the container. So let's go ahead and get some Bob Smith Industries Super Gold Plus going here. And you can tell that model glue is my go-to, not my crazy glue or super glue or whatever you want to call it. Cryolinic, whatever it is. But you just need the smallest little amount on there. And there you go. And then we'll just stick this brake rotor on. And there we go. Yep, that is actually not applying very well. There seems to be a gap. Oh, there we go. Now it's going. There was a gap. It was like sticking out for some reason. And apparently this is going to need to be clamped because it's not cooperating with me. So I am going to clamp it. I'll put a clamp on each side. We'll let that glue cure for a few minutes, and then we should be able to proceed with the other side. Okay, we're going to proceed with the other side now. I am just de-spruing this part, cutting it from the tree. The sprue, I don't know what you would call it, a sprue sheet, a sprue tree, a photo etched metal sheet, whatever you would call it. Just be careful to not bend the part. So I was trying to remove this, and one of the pieces was still attached, and so it wasn't quite ready to let go of the part, and now I have bent the part. Come on. Yeah, these parts that have this little tiny piece of metal that attaches it to the whatever you want to call it, the sheet. I like just the adhesive backed ones that you just pick up with a tweezer, and you can work with them a lot easier. These ones that have that little piece, if it's not ready to go and you go pulling it off, then it doesn't release from the sheet. So there we go. That other one has cured. What I'm going to do now for crazy glue is I don't like applying right out of the applicator like I did on the last one. It's always a crapshoot because you never know what's going to come out of that container, and you can't control the flow very well. So I like to take a little bit of the crazy glue and put it on a piece of Scotch tape like that. You probably waste more glue this way, but whoever uses an entire container anyway, they always go hard before you use them all. So I don't worry about wasting it, to be honest. So now, what I'm going to do is, now that I have the toothpick, and you can use a paper clip for this too. Anything small and pointy. There we go. Now I can apply this. Oh, this is gonna look so nice, especially after paint. That's pretty good. And now I just want to test and make sure that the brake caliper does in fact still fit. It was a fairly snug fit with the without the photo etch metal, and that's exactly what I feared. Upon applying the photo etch metal, the brake caliper now no longer fits. See, this one is an example. These guys go together. These are made for each other. But they're a fairly snug fit. You can tell by doing that. They fit okay, but there's not enough room for two pieces of photo etch metal. So what's going to have to happen is I'm going to have to open that slot in these brake rotors, brake calipers a little bit, because they don't fit with the photo etch metal pieces attached. Let me see what happens if I clamp this one side for a little while. I'll clamp this one side, see if that pushes it in at all. And then let's see if this will fit now. Nope. Gonna need to open that up. Alright, well, that's good information to know now, so I can do that now rather than after the parts are painted and everything, and then I'm going to want to have a little bit of extra space, obviously, for the paint as well. But there we go. So, let's, that really looks sweet, doesn't it? Doesn't that look great? That looks awesome. So, I'm going to put this one aside and work on the one next to it, get those photo etch metal pieces ready to go, and we'll do that right now. And I'll be back. So we are at the point where I'm going to do these calipers and prepare these calipers for paint. I have the rotors ready for paint. I have applied the photo etch metal, and I decided to take them off the sprues. So they are ready to get painted, and now I need to prepare to paint the calipers. But first I wanted to identify which ones are which. I believe that these are the rears, and these are the fronts, because these are the big ones. And then there is a photo etched metal piece here, these 4 guys, or I should say 8 guys, that go onto the calipers. And I've decided to apply them before paint because the calipers are a solid color. They don't have a silver. And these have the nice little metal etched Ferrari logos, which is pretty darn cool. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to cut these off and apply these onto these calipers now. And then the calipers are nice. These are going to look good. And then I still haven't decided if they're going to be red or yellow yet. I'm still going back and forth. So, but I have to decide in the next few minutes because we're going to paint them. So here we go. So looking very closely at the instructions, I believe that they have the photo etched metal pieces reversed. I think 12 goes on the one side, 11 actually goes on the opposite side. If you look very closely at the brake caliper, you can see a pattern to the side here, and it does correspond with this metal. But the opposite side, so this caliper, for instance, it indicates PE11 goes on the front side. 12 in parentheses would be normal for the back side. But in fact, 12 goes on the front side. So so I'm going to get a little crazy glue going here. A little Bob Smith Industries, my favorite crazy glue. One of my favorite crazy glues. This one is getting a little old because it is starting to get a little stringy. But I'm able to still use it and function. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my tweezer here, and I'm going to get one of these metal pieces. Now these are very fragile and very easy to bend. I am finding you need to be very careful. And then my my fancy crazy glue applicator aka a toothpick. And you do not need much, just like a little tiny essence of glue. Just a little tiny dab. I've got enough on that masking tape to do 100 of these. And then finding the part, like where did I put the part? It can be tricky. All right. And that, as they say, is that. It's kind of cool, actually. It should give a nice texture to the brake caliper. That looks kind of neat. I'm kind of a fan. A level of detail that would not be able to be molded in. This crazy glue is just a tad stringy, and I've got way too much on that toothpick. There we go. Okay, and now I need a number 11. I'm going to try grabbing it in the middle. See if I can avoid bending the end like I did on that last one. See, they're stuck to this self-adhesive that the photo etch metal is sandwiched between two layers of clear adhesive. Oh, there it comes. Bing. Perfecto. I got that one nice off there. Smooth. And we'll just set it on the... Whoa, wait a minute, go away. It was running away with me there. A little messy with the crazy glue, but we'll be okay. It'll be once it gets painted. So there's the other side. I don't know if the camera is focusing on this. I'm having a little trouble with my iPhone camera. I had to take it to the Apple store, and they had to put something in it because it was making a grinding noise. And since they fixed it, I don't know, it just doesn't seem right. I do that where you get a new iPhone every year, that Apple, the iPhone exchange program or whatever. It seems pretty good because I'm a big fan of Apple, and I really like the iPhone as a product. And I use MacBook and all kinds of Apple products. I'm a fan. And so what I think I might just do is this is a 14 Pro Max. The 15 is out now. I might just go get the 15. All right, so now. Here we go. And get a little bit on here. A little bit of crazy glue action. And then these front ones will be done. And ready for paint. Except this one isn't coming off of the tape. It figures the last one, right? Ah, there we go. Got it. Somewhat delicate work here. And I managed to somehow, and I will never know how, bend this metal a little bit. So I will just push it down. There we go. And this one moved ever so slightly. There we go. All right. So those two calipers are done. I'll do the other two calipers off camera, and then we'll be ready to go to paint with these guys. For the calipers, I'm using a little Tamiya LP21 Italian Red. I think that the Italian Red is going to look really nice. And I have the caliper here ready to go. So let's paint. LP paints, they cure very fast. Go on very nice. And if you just push the button and just shoot out air, like right now I'm not putting out any paint, I'm just shooting air, pretty much cures the paint. It looks really good. Push out some air. Might light it a little bit. There we go. Yeah, that looks really good. Let that cure. And we'll do some brake rotors. So for the brake rotors, I'm going to use the Tamiya Lacquer LP19 gunmetal, and I am also going to use this on the wheels also. I think that this will look just right as far as the color goes. Those brake rotors look awesome already. I'm just getting all the sides. There we go. Maybe we'll pop that in the dehydrator for a few minutes. And while those parts are in the dehydrator, we can move on to the wheels. Wheels are a two-tone. Most of the wheel is a gunmetal color, but then there are parts at the top and around the edges that are silver. So what I'll do is I'll go in afterward and do the silver parts. Just getting the inside of the barrel, which is not so easy to get, discovering. That's the secret. Just got to get in a little closer. Alright, there's that. The wheel looks great. One down, 3 to go. I'll do one more on camera, and then I can do the other 2 off camera. What I'm doing now is I'm just doing the barrel first. And I'll go into the outside front. A little bit of the edge. You can see that a little bit on the car. Go. That looks great. These are such nice looking wheels, and with the silver accents and the Ferrari logo in the center, these are going to look absolutely excellent. I'm really looking forward to how these wheels and tires are going to set this car off. I find that on model cars, the wheels and tires are very important. Besides stance, wheels, tires, and stance. If you've got really awesome looking wheels and tires, a pretty good paint job, and a stance that is killer, a model car just looks fantastic on the shelf. It can make up for a lot of other things. So I will paint the wheels and we will be right back. The brake rotors have come out of the dehydrator, and now it is time to do the other side. And we'll do it from all 360 degrees. So that we are sure to get every angle. Outstanding. And those are going to look very good. There's a photo etch metal piece that goes on top that's black and silver that goes on top of there. Those are going to look fantastic. So now we're at the point where we're going to apply one of these little metal rings, and we don't need very much at all in the way of glue. These parts are so infinitesimally small, as I'm sure you can tell. They require very little glue. There we go. And they require a very fine hand. So there we go. That one is installed. Now it also has these little tabs that the instructions say that you push down. These parts are also double-sided. One side does not have any detail, and one side does. So make sure you're working with the side that has the detail. What I need is another tweezer to push down on this whilst I am bending these little metal tabs. This is a lot of work, but the results are stellar. And will look great. There we go. I hope that the camera will pick that up. That is pretty darn cool. Yep. Pretty darn cool. I think that some of my metal tabs have to be bent a little more. I noticed that when looking at the camera. Some of my metal tabs weren't bent all the way in. However, they are now. That is pretty wild, man. That's a pretty good looking rotor. All right. So I'm thinking that what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to install this little part. I'm going to bend all of the tabs. Then, well, no, I was thinking then I would glue it. But if I bend all of the tabs, it might be hard to remove. Though the other one was coming off entirely on its own. There we go. Get too much glue on this. There we go. And now we'll just drop this in. There we go. Now we'll just start bending our little tabs in. This is definitely very delicate work. And this is why I use the Bob Smith Industries Super Gold Plus, because it cures perfectly clear, and you'll never be able to see any of this glue that is oozing out. Ideally, what I should probably do is I should probably glue these down and then come back to bend the tabs later. But I'm noticing that with the tabs bent, the part doesn't sit all the way flat. Well, I guess it does. I guess it depends on how you bend the tab. There we go. All the tabs are bent. And there is another rotor. That's ready. So I will do the other two, and then I will bring you back. So I've done a couple already off camera just to kind of get a feel for it. And what I'm having to do is I'm having to go in here with a very thin file and remove a little bit of material, paint, and a little bit of the they fit before, so I'm assuming it's mostly paint. And I'm just removing a little bit of the paint and the material from the center where the brake rotor goes to ensure a better fit. And there we have it. And they pretty much just push on and are held. I don't feel inclined to glue them at this point. I'll see what kind of stresses are put on them in the installation. But I suspect not many, not much. But they just kind of push on, and then that's it. And then there is a mounting tab where it mounts to the car. But I think that that will be fine, just like that. And I'm to the point now where the only thing left is some decals. So we'll get to that part right now. But the photo-etched metal on the brake rotor that gives you this really nice textured Ferrari here, that photo-etched metal is wonderful. That's a really nice touch for these brake rotors. So all that's left now is some decals, and then I think we're done with this. So you are provided with two different sets of decals for the calipers. A set with a Ferrari with a little red writing under, and a set with Ferrari with a little yellow writing under. I noticed that the yellow calipers use the Ferrari with the red writing, and the red calipers use the Ferrari with the yellow writing, it seems online. And that makes sense because then the yellow will stick out against the red and vice versa. So I am opting for the yellow letters. And we are going to put these little guys on here right now. They do have all the same number, so they are all the same size. And I'm going to use just a slight little bit of decal setting solution just to hold them in place as I drop them on there. And then I might pop them into the dehydrator. That has a tendency to kind of suck them down and force them to adhere to every nook and cranny. I had somebody ask me the other day what nooks and crannies were. I used that expression. I was like, haven't you ever had a Thomas's English muffin? I had a Thomas's English muffin recently in a restaurant. I don't eat bread very often, but when I do, I like to have something good. And I like it well prepared. We're like, well, how can they screw up a Thomas English muffin? They cut it with a knife, which took away all the nooks and crannies. And then they toasted it, so I basically had a little round piece of bread. It was no longer an English muffin. So I would submit to you, don't cut your English muffins. You're missing out. The nooks and crannies are wonderful. You never know what we're going to talk about in these videos. It's kind of funny. You never know what's going to come up. So what I'm doing now is I'm just getting the decals on. I will go back in a minute and work them a little bit, move them around. I want to get them in the setting solution so that they can start softening up, which is what that is going to do. And then I can push them down, move them around with a toothpick, push them down with a Q-tip. And then I can pop them in the dehydrator. So we'll start with this one because this one needs to be moved. There we go. We'll let him settle. So now we'll come over here. We'll take a look at this one. This one looks pretty good. He needs to be just moved a little bit. And then we can just roll the Q-tip. There we go. Hey, that looks good. And we'll take a look at this one. He needs to be moved a little bit too. Ferrari. I don't know what the yellow writing says. There's no way I would make that out. But it's on the big one too. Yeah, that looks good. And we've got this guy right here. Needs to be moved down just a tad. There we go. Perfect. These guys are looking great. Awesome. Excellent. And those can pop into the dehydrator for a little while. But that's basically what we've got right there. And then just for a little bit of fun here, let's see what's gonna. Oh, yeah, that's gonna be pretty sweet when we finish building the wheels and tires. That's gonna be pretty sweet. So there is our wheels. Well, our brake calipers and rotors are done anyway. We'll finish up the wheels next week. I hope you'll come on back. We'll finish up the wheels and get them mounted onto those little hubs that go onto the car. And then we will continue with what's next on the Alpha Models Ferrari SF90 Spider. We are moving forward. See you soon. Oh, that's going to wrap up video number 5 in the Alpha Models Ferrari SF90 Spider video series. Go ahead and like, share, comment, subscribe. All of that stuff helps me out with the channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Also, check me out on Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram, all under the name Angelo's Workbench. Come on back next week. We'll finish up those wheels and get into what's next. Thank you. I will see you then.